This is the Emscripten Uzebox Gamechanger, also known as Online Uzebox Player. This is a sort of wrapper for Uzebox Emscripten builds that allows you to pick from a list of any known game and it will play it for you. Until now, if you wanted to have an Emscripten build of your game, you had to compile the emulator and the game in together into one little web page, and you got the one game. And this worked, but it was good for one game. If you wanted to update your game, or add new games to this repertoire, you'd have to compile the emulator and the game again and have a brand new web page. Although this works, this isn't necessarily the best solution. For example, maybe you wanted to be able to display all Uzebox games for anybody to play. Emscripten is a great answer to that. However, it's a little complicated to compile every game separately. What this lets you do is you pick a game from the list and it plays it for you. You have one compiled emulator and the game files themselves need to be unmodified. So you can just add new files in relatively easy with the game manager, which I will show you towards the end of this video. First, I will demonstrate getting a game from the server. We have some sections here. We got server game, user files, and emulator controls. We're going to pick a choose game here from server game. 65,536 in 1, Alter Ego, Flight of the Dragon, many. Let's pick the 65,536 in 1. And here you go. Here's the game. It's playable. There you go. I can stop the emulator. Let's pick another one that's a little bit more SD card driven. This one is SD card driven, or Alter Ego. Now what's nice is that all the files required for the game are dumped into the Emscripten file system, including the data file for Alter Ego, or whichever SD card game you play. So here's the game. It plays. And there's the level. And this is great, so I can pick any one of these games that are known by the Uzebox Game Manager database, and I can play them very conveniently. If I want to restart it, I can click on this restart game button. So that's really helpful. Or just stop the thing entirely. Okay. It would be wonderful if we can put all the Uzebox games into this database and have them stored and served by the server. But there's a couple exceptions to that, a couple edge cases where this would not be a good idea. For example, Tornado 2000 has a very large data file. It's 440 megs, and that's not a file we want to have people downloading every time they want to play. So in that case, we probably shouldn't put that one on this menu, but we should leave a download link to it. And this program is aware of that possibility, as well as games that might not be in the database at all. Maybe it's one that you're working on, maybe it's one that hasn't been added yet, whichever have you. So we have the ability of adding a file that belongs to the user. For example, I will pick the Tornado 2000 from here, and this never hits the server, so there's no real bandwidth issues. The user has to download it once and do it himself, but after that he can play as much as he wants to without any bandwidth usage. It's also very fast. About 5-ish seconds to load up half a gig of data. So you click on the game file name itself. That starts it up. That tells Uzebox which file is the game. Here's Tornado in all of its glory. And it plays just fine. All of this really runs from RAM. Alright, I could restart it by clicking the button again. Again, this takes the same 5 seconds. Because it gets copied into the file system each time. Because every time you run a new game, it's literally a brand new instance of Uzebox and Emscripten. This is an iframe in the middle here. Okay, we've seen quite a bit here, but let's also look at the emulator controls. If you look at the text, you may see that as I click the quality, that it gets a little fuzzy. The fuzzier version is a lower quality and it's supposed to be better on CPU. The debug features of Uzebox are also available. I can click on it, and when I do, the screen resizes for me. And then resizes back. We also have the controls set up, so we see SNES up here, Uzum, whichever. There's also the flicker ability. You can just click them to toggle them. Stop in the emulator. So I did mention an Uzebox manager, so I'm going to switch over to the development section. I haven't secured this yet, so this is not really ready for production. But in this we have a tab for GamesDB. We can pick a game from the list. These are the games that are known by the Gamechanger. Let's add a game. I'm going to add Chickens and Copters. I'm going to click on New. I'm going to give it a title. And it has to have a game directory name. There's no real limit or size or specification that needs to be for this, but I would suggest you make it something that makes sense. I'm going to call this Chick Chop. Let's call it Chicken Chop. Okay, this can't be changed later. Clicking Save. Now it loads it up. We have a new value in the database with the title we specified, who it was added by. Valid header and completer 0 because, well, we didn't analyze it. I'm set those to 1 since I know this game is going to be that way. Clicking Update. Now there's nothing in here. There's no files. There's nothing set for the game. I'm going to click on Choose Files. Chickens and Chapters. Now these are the files for the game. The hex, the ooze, and the level. I know you only need the hex or need the ooze. I'm going to include both of them for this demonstration. Upload file. Another part of the list. These are now sent to the server. The server has them. The server's aware of them. But still, we don't know which file is the one we start the game as. Looking here, we get the file name. We can remove the individual file. We can download it. You want to do like a right click and save as. And we can set the game file. Now again, I'm not paying attention to what kind of file it is. I'm relying on you to tell me which one it is. So if we want to do the ooze, automatically saves. This value is updated. We have chickens and chopters now. Going back to the emulator, I pick from the list chickens and chopters. Then in the upper right, it has my title, and it has the game file. So that's nice. Let's go back to the games database editor, and I want to use the hex file instead. Set as game file hex saves. The emulator restarts. It's kind of a safety reason. And you'll see that we have C chopper hex. We're running with the hex file as opposed to the ooze file. Now, just for fun, I'm going to do the importing of a user file. Okay. Now I'm going to pick either one, doesn't matter, ooze or hex. Notice that the title isn't specified. This isn't in the database, so there's really no need for a title. You know what it is you chose to download it or upload it. Okay, so that's quite helpful. We can play a game that you supply. We can have a game that the server supplies. All editable right here. The description would be probably a good place for the link to the wiki. Maybe a forum link. Or maybe something to read instructions about the game. Whatever you want. And you click on upload and you got it. It's my hope that we can centralize all of the Uzebox games into this database manager and leave a list of links, downloadable links for the games that are very large that you can at least manually input them so that anybody can enjoy an Uzebox game that's made here on the web.